We'd like to welcome you to the Heart Leader Podcast, where heart and mind align. I'm your host, Amber, and I'm here with co-host Austin, and we'd like to know, do you have a passion to make a greater global impact? Are you ready to embrace leading with heart and love? If so, join us on this journey to become heart leaders who change the world. Each episode brings heart-centered connection, building stronger relationships, communities, and businesses. Let's take a deeper dive into what it means to be heart leaders. The Heart Leader Podcast starts now. Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Heart Leader Podcast, where heart and mind align. I am your host, Amber, and I'm here today with my amazing partner in all things in life, Austin. And we're going to focus on talking about our theme for this month, connection, but really connection when it comes to relationships. Because we get asked about this a lot, actually. And we even speak about it, hold meditations around this topic. And so we wanted to take a moment to kind of navigate through some of the tips that are in this month's toolkit, the building meaningful connections toolkit, because we use a lot of the tools that we put in there, and kind of walk through how we implement them to see if any of them may resonate with you, especially when it comes to partnerships in the way that we had it, because ultimately we didn't start out as a romantic partnership. We started out as a mentorship that built into a friendship that then built into a romantic partnership. And it's amazing because every day I get to be in love with my best friend. And so if some of the tools that we utilize to get to that point can be beneficial in any relationship that you have that falls along that spectrum, then wonderful. Take it, adapt it, and utilize it in your life. So, Austin.
Yes.
Here we go, practicing so many of the tools that we've talked about in podcasts prior to this, including vulnerability, transparency, authenticity. There's all of these things that are a culmination for what we're about to share here, which is how our relationship unfolded and how we built what I feel is probably one of the strongest bonds I've ever experienced in my life, and one that I give gratitude for, honestly, every single day. I cannot imagine. We do business together, we run multiple organizations together, we live together. We are together pretty much 24/7. And I know I personally get asked a lot, don't we get tired of each other? And I can say from my side with a resounding sincerity, no, I never grow tired of being with you, because every moment with you is different than the previous one. And I know every moment that follows will be different than the one that we're in right now. And that's a choice that we make. So that's where I stand in it. And it is because we are building. It's not as though we've built. We are constantly building our connection. It's an active process. So where do you fall in that flow? Because that's like my side of it. Where do you fall?
As your partner. That's where I fall. No, I couldn't have said it better myself. I mean, and I feel like that's a really key aspect, is choice. And when we talk about connection is all about choice. We can choose to be connected to someone or not connected to someone, but it is a choice. And so I really like what you're saying about building. When we say in our tool, it's called the Building Meaningful Connections toolkit. And that's because it's building, it's always building. It's not a stop. It's not like we have built, even though we have built an incredible foundation. We spent years as, you know, you were my mentor first, and then we became best friends, and then I got to fall in love with my best friend. All of those were chapters in the flow and built upon and built upon and built upon each other. And again, all of those were choices too, which built upon and built upon and built upon. And so I really feel that when it comes to a lot of relationships, when there is an issue, maybe individuals feel stuck or they feel stagnant, or maybe they almost feel like they're going backwards. A lot of the time, I think it's because there's this default to, oh, well, we've already built our foundation and we've already built our relationship. It's not that we're continuing on this journey and we choose to actively build it every single day upon each other and upon each other and upon each other. And that's why ours keeps growing and growing and growing and getting enhanced, 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 because it's just, we choose it every day and that compounds. I mean, we understand this in finance.
Yeah.
People talk about it all the time, the power of compound interest. And so if we are able to do that with love, what about the power of compounding love? It's powerful.
Yes. And if we did that in every relationship, because you're right. And I even did this in previous relationships where you get comfortable and then suddenly the person that you desire to honor the most is the one that ends up carrying all your baggage, right? And so suddenly, instead of building your relationship, you're tearing it down brick by brick. And instead of having that flow of love, you're disconnecting from one another because you just need your time. You just need to be away or retreat instead of, and there will be moments like that. You and I even have that. But in building our connection, we communicate that with each other instead of just taking the action. I will say to you, love, I am in this space right now. This is what I'm feeling. This is what I'm experiencing. And as much as I desire to share this with you, right now, emotionally, I am unable to adequately express to you what I'm truly feeling. So if you give me time and space to just navigate it on my own, then I can express it to you. And you do the same. Like even a little bit on the car ride over here, you're like, okay, there are some things, we've been very busy, so I'll need some downtime. But we're constantly communicating in that way, which is building that bridge back and forth. And I don't judge you for where you are.
No judges.
No judgies. And you don't judge me. It's that open share of, okay, this is just where you are right now.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you're going to be there a year from now and like we're just not going to move forward. It means you're here right now and I can honor that space.
Yeah, it's so well said. I really feel like the constant discussion and conversation, um, you know, even as close as we are, we're not mind readers.
Yeah.
And so we need to be able to tell each other where we're at, what we're feeling, why we're feeling it. And, you know, even the good things. I mean, how many, I feel so lucky because we probably tell each other we love each other, you know, like countless times a day. I don't, you know, and how lucky is that? Like, that's such a rare gift. And so, you know, it's not just that we tell each other when things are wrong.
Yes.
We actually really focus on when things are positive, and that's the energy that we build on. We don't build on, as we were just talking about in a beautiful conversation earlier today, about where most things are in this world, which is lack and fear.
Hmm.
We don't approach our relationship and our connection from a place of lack or fear or jealousy or anxiety or any of these low vibrational energies that can cause reactions without true awareness. And so we focus from a place of abundance. We focus from a place of trust.
Yes.
And with those two things, love is limitless. We're, as you beautifully say, we're not putting our projection of anything on love. We're allowing it to unfold through our greatest gift, which is choice and our free will to choose each other in every moment. That's about as loving as it can get.
Yeah. And just that brings up so much.
Right.
Because one, even if we could read each other's minds, and sometimes we do in a very eerie way, um, it doesn't circumvent the need to verbally express it to each other. And we fell into that. Like sometimes I would, just because we know each other so well, I would know what you meant before you finished verbally expressing it. But there's still a need for you to be able to express how you feel. And so, again, that goes back to the comfort of being in a relationship, right? Sometimes we may know what our partner is feeling, or we may have the words out of their mouth before they're fully out of their mouth. But that doesn't mean that I should trump you in the middle of your sentence and not allow you to finish expressing all of your feeling, thought, emotion, because that's part of being able to fully just convey what is inside of you. And I should honor that space until it's all out, even if I know every last detail. And you hold space and do the same. And then there's that, we talk about it as leading with trust and removing labels, right? Because if we came into our relationship and I made you carry the baggage of every person who hurt me, there's no way we would have been able to create a depth of a bond. And I know you had a ton of the same baggage. So we would have just been like, whoo, here, you carry mine, whoo, I'll carry yours. And then we both would have been like going nowhere. So we have to come in and be willing to like set all that baggage down, go, okay, you didn't give me this.
Mhm.
You shouldn't have to carry all of that. Let's just trust each other until you give me baggage to carry. Then I'll decide if I'm willing to carry that, or if we navigate through it and together we put that baggage down and we move on from there. But each time we determine together what we're going to do if there is a breach of trust or there is something that comes up. But it's not because we're carrying all the baggage from the past. We have to lead with trust. We have to be willing to connect with each other. And equally as important is removing labels. Because if you had labeled me just like all the other girls you ever dated, again, I would have never stood a chance, right? Or even if you label me as being amazing, like that's a heavy label to carry.
Sorry.
Now, I know you do it all the time,
Yes. Well, you are amazing, but yes.
but that's to live up to that all the time. If that's the only thing you'll ever allow me to be, like I can't be human, I
Mhm.
always have to be superhuman.
Right. Fair point.
Right? So we can do both sides of the equation with labels. And sometimes we don't think about that. If we're always telling our partners, oh, you are the greatest, you are the best, you are, sometimes we might be kind of creating this, oh, I've got to live up to that all the time. I can't be anything less than what this is. Instead of giving room for both things to exist. Yes, 98% of the time, I can be that in this connection we have. But 2% of the time, I need the room to just be, not that. And so talking about that and just removing the labels and just being who you are, where you are, when you're that, how you're that, like all of those things, that freedom just really matters.
Right. And to build on that more, when you are focusing on that aspect, then it's easy to get comfortable. If you were to keep telling me I'm amazing, for example, well, then what's to keep me from, what's to incentivize me to continue to grow?
Yeah.
I could get complacent in that space. And then my ego could take over. And then it's like, well, everything I do is amazing. So why wouldn't you like whatever it is that I did? Not that I do, but
Yeah.
I think that's where, just to bring up both sides of it. And I think I've seen relationships struggle in both areas where it's, not building each other up enough. And then sometimes building each other up too much where there's complacency. And then there's this expectation that never gets met. Then expectation leads to disappointment, and disappointment leads to just more stress and like, why can't my partner do this, or why can't they be like that? And then it's just fueling this projection of who they are instead of loving them for who they are
Yeah. In that moment.
in that moment. Yeah, just knowing that we're not, any action isn't who we are. It's an experience, and we the more that we can communicate with each other and be on the same page about those experiences and what we desire to share as a couple and individually, because even when we are experiencing individually, we are as a couple as well.
Mm-hmm.
Just like you just got your master's in quantum sciences, right? That's your amazing achievement, but I felt like I was there every step of the way.
You were.
I read every paper, and I had long conversations with you about things. And so, it's like I got to experience it with you, even though it was your individual thing. And we went into it, the two of us saying, hey, how does this help us? How does this grow us? How do we learn from this? How do we build? And then it's amazing to watch you flourish, and I was grateful to be your partner and support you through that process so you could experience something that really makes your heart sing. I mean, that's exciting. That's what I desire to be a part of as a couple and as an individual. But then to get to watch you as an individual grow from it too, it's like, it's, win win win, right? And so those are the kind of things that I feel are so important in a connection that we get to share. Um, and maybe one of the things that we can kind of continue on that front is kind of discuss, how we go about these conversations, and maybe start back. I know you just got back from an amazing retreat with Stephanie James
Mm-hmm.
and the Becoming Fierce retreat. And so I know you had mentioned about our process of communication and sharing our guiding principles and personal boundaries. Now we grow. So I was wondering if you wouldn't mind kind of discussing that a little bit, and we can kind of share those thoughts, even though it's not necessarily a part of our free tool or anything like that. It's just, to me, it's just such a great aspect of our relationship and building a foundation that's ever growing and ever living.
Yeah. And as we were wrapping up the retreat,
Hmm.
I had the distinct pleasure of sitting with Stephanie and her partner Morgan,
Hmm.
who are just phenomenal people. And I could not have been more grateful for that cherished time that we had together.
Right.
But we were talking about, partnerships and couples and relationships. And we were just sharing different things that we do. And one of the things I brought up was how when you and I first got together and we decided, yes, we are moving forward as a romantic partnership, we had already done as friends our personal boundaries and our guiding principles, just as individuals, so that we knew each other. And what that means is personal boundaries is how I'll allow the world to interact with me. So if I picture, I have a bubble around me, right? I'm sitting in my Glinda the Good Witch bubble, and I'm going to allow the world in. What am I going to allow through my little bubble,
Mhm.
right? So, how am I going to allow it? What's my boundary for entry?
Mhm.
So, very much so, like I will only allow energies that feed my soul. So nothing else is going to penetrate. And if I find it's not feeding my soul, then I have the choice to walk away, right? So I even know the action that I'll take because it is on me. If something crosses my boundary, it's on me to take the action. So I understood. My guiding principle is how I'm going to interact with the world,
Mhm.
right? So what's going out of my little bubble? So I will always repay every kindness shown to me in some way. So I know how it's going to flow out. So we have that two-way transaction of what's going around our little bubble, right?
Mhm.
And if we're all bouncing around in our little bubbles, we know how they're going to interact.
Mhm.
And you did the same.
Right.
And we shared at that friendship level.
Mhm.
But the moment we decided we were entering into a romantic partnership,
Mhm.
we knew that we needed to come together on those and create our unified guiding principles and personal boundaries too.
Mhm.
But we needed to hold our own and have a unified set because how are we as a couple going to have guiding principles and personal boundaries?
Yeah.
And we also knew that we needed to keep revisiting them because as people, we change. As a couple, we change. So it's very important for us to always sit down and talk about that. Like, what's still important to me as a boundary? Like, I didn't even know I had some boundaries until we started living together, right?
Right.
Some of those boundaries just pop up.
Yeah.
Hello.
And you got
And same for
you got
you.
to allow them to come forward and know that it's not a personal attack, but it's an opportunity for growth and a way for us to mirror something within ourselves to either respond and overcome or hey, hold a boundary.
Exactly.
It could be any, or it could even be a mixture of that, to be honest.
Yeah, and how in the world would you know if
Mhm.
I had a boundary,
Right.
if I didn't share it with you? Instead, it would be an expectation.
Hmm.
And then suddenly I would be like throwing bombs at you for not knowing my expectations in an area. And that's so unfair.
Hmm.
But we do it so often.
Hmm.
And it sounds easier said than done, right? Oh, we'll just sit down and we'll write out our little personal boundaries and guiding principles and we'll share.
Yeah.
But it takes a lot of heart-centered openness
And vulnerability.
and vulnerability
Right.
to be able to sit down with your partner and share, or your friends. Because even when we were friends and we did this,
Hmm.
we had to be open enough with each other to say, okay, here's where I'm at.
Hmm.
And we're spending all this time together as friends. So it's important that you know me in this way.
Right.
Now, I finally got to the point where I posted my principles and boundaries, guiding principles and boundaries on Facebook and everywhere else, just so people got the opportunity, like, you should know how I engage.
Hmm.
But that took time. And what we do as a couple is very different than mine individually.
Hmm.
And they do keep changing. I think together, you and I, we've really created a flow that is very beneficial for us. It doesn't necessarily mirror what I personally started with when I started doing this exercise 11 years ago.
I would agree. And I think what's also important is that it's not I mean, there's some things that are concrete. When we want to choose to be the very best versions of ourselves, and we have some guiding principle or personal boundary that is regarding that, like, hey, I desire to protect my energy so that I can show up and be the best version of myself, and therefore that assist you and the people that I love and the people that I assist every single day. okay, there can be some solid concrete ones like that that are kind of evergreen, for a lack of a better term, right? But what I love about what we do is that we kind of have somewhat granular approaches, and it's part of our daily or weekly or monthly flow. If we know that one month we traveled a lot and things were a little bit busy, we had things going on, it was just kind of craziness. We're like, hey, sweetheart, this month, like, let's stay in a little bit more. Let's kind of relax, on the weekends. Let's just kind of, maybe let's go hike and let's just be with us. Let's cuddle. Let's have a TV day or something like that. Or, just something like low key. Just because last month, hey, we were out, we had to travel, we had events, we had things that we wanted to attend with friends and family and all that kind of stuff, which is beautiful. But we effectively communicate with each other when we've reached our max on certain things. And sometimes we might fall, into that habit a little bit much, like, hey, you know what, we haven't gone out on a date in a little bit, it's date, let's make sure we go on a couple dates this month and, or, this week, like, hey, I'd really just love to have that connection, just grab dinner with you and just, just connect. Cause I know it's been like all business this week. So let's just, you and I just grab some dinner. And so I think, you know, those are kind of more, not the concrete ones. And they're centered in our concreteness of us desiring to grow as a couple and pull the best out of each other always.
Yes.
But there has to be some practicality to it. There has to be flexibility because we shift, we change, the life throws things at you you just don't expect. So you have to be willing to kind of roll with it. And so having effective communication regularly like that, not just monthly, not just weekly, but also daily, I feel like that's what keeps us in a flow. That tends to provide that positive um, result for us, and just really naturally keeps our connection in a space of constant choice as well, because we're choosing our journey. We're actively choosing our experience of and with each other, and that makes it fun and exciting and engaging.
Yeah. And honestly, playful. And
Yeah,
this was consistent across all of our relationships.
yeah,
When we were building a meaningful relationship or a meaningful connection across all three,
yeah.
it was playful and joyful, and we never took ourselves or each other too seriously. And I feel that that's another thing that really allowed us to drop all of the pretense that can begin in when you're starting a connection and just be vulnerable with one another. And I know in the beginning, I wouldn't take you on as a coaching client or a regular client because I did desire to really understand a more meaningful connection with you, estimating it would be friendship,
Hmm.
not ever estimating we would get to where we got to in many ways. But really, because as a mentor, then I could understand what it would be like to be your friend and understand that playful, connected, elevated nature because you were always so willing to explore all facets of yourself. And that takes a level of vulnerability, a level of willingness to say, all right, I may not know all the answers, but I'm willing to explore.
Yeah.
And when we're willing to enter into any connection with that being the base, like just playful, joyful exploration,
Yeah.
then that is a base for amazing friendships, amazing family connections. It's when we start to say, no, I know all the answers and you're going to fit into that box,
Hmm.
that we start to really limit our capacity for connection.
Mm. Truth.
So, and I don't want to devalue what we're doing and what we consistently do, which is eye contact,
Hmm.
right?
True. Yeah. I mean, we really, there's that age-old saying where, you know, eyes the way to the soul, but when you really do connect like that, um, you really get to see. I mean, you look at it when you look at an animal and you see the eye. You know, there's just you see life at a deeper level, and there's no denying it. It is blatant, like it is right there in front of you. And so when you do have that type of relationship where no matter what we're doing, whether we're in a conversation like this, or we're at home, or we're in business, no matter what's going on, we do provide that a I feel is a level of respect.
Mhm.
It's a way to show each other that we do respect each other, whether we agree or disagree with what's being said. There's still respect. Two is it helps us recognize that we're being heard and we're being seen, which a lot of the problems in this world right now are because people don't feel heard or seen. And so if you're not even willing to provide that to your partner, I mean, no wonder that's not happening around the world in any type of situation that's going on. So the more that you can actually create that with your partner and have that sense of vulnerability and authenticity by offering, in essence, your soul, and being able to witness someone else's soul at the same time, you know, there's no need to, the connection's already made. It's there, it's happening. There's no need to force or think through a connection because it's already happened. It's in connection. And so it gets you out of your head into your heart and allows you to just be. And that's what I think is one of the best, most beautiful parts of eye connection. And is all of that respect, that honoring of each other, and almost seeing ourselves, and having that empathy through the process.
Yeah. I mean, the ability to pull you into the present moment, it's so very hard to go drifting forward or backward when you are locked eye to eye with anyone,
Yeah.
especially your partner
Right.
or someone that you care deeply for.
Hmm.
And so to honor them by hearing them and really retaining what they say. I mean, when we go to the science of it, because I do that, um,
Nerd.
nerd, nerd alert. They talk about the fact that there is, when you say the empathy, there's like a mirror neuron that
Right.
kicks in. We actually start to feel the same neurons that are firing in your brain will pseudo fire in my brain. So yeah, I'll actually start to feel, we'll have a little bit of entrainment that will start to happen, which will lock me in, and I'll actually have a stronger desire to be present with you, to understand, seek to understand where you're coming from, and to hold that in my memory because we've actually locked that wavelength. And then it triggers coherence from a heart perspective, right? That heart math thing that we talk about so much. So our hearts will start to sync up. Those little neurons that fire in the heart will start to sync up. So something as simple as just staying connected through the eyes starts to fire all these other things in our form and our energetic form. And it really helps us be there for each other in a way that we might not otherwise be if we're kind of on our phones and half engaged in the conversation, or we're on the computer finishing up a little bit of work while half talking to our friend or our coworker. Or so just taking the time, if you want to build a meaningful connection, stop what you're doing, make eye contact, and actually receive what someone is saying to you. And if you can't, then communicate to them, I need to finish this one thing. And then I will be there with you.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that either.
No, not at all. And by practicing that type of connection, what a great place when you feel vulnerable and you feel connected to build trust.
Yeah.
How can you not build trust from that point? And that's us talking about when we are fostering our foundation, we're doing that from abundance, and we're doing that uh, just from unconditional love. And so trust is a key aspect that kind of binds that together. And so when we are building that trust, when we're able to connect and be vulnerable, trust it comes so natural. You don't have to, neither of us have to attempt to get each other to trust each other. Like
Yeah.
it's embedded in when you open yourself up like that. And so again, it's not about thinking through things or how will you think about me if I do this action, or how will, or vice versa, or anything like that. It's the trust is there, and so the natural action follows. That's us getting out of our head into our hearts, letting ourselves lead with our hearts. What would love do? Right? Then it just becomes natural.
Mm. And sometimes the most challenging thing is to trust ourselves,
Mm,
right? It's really challenging to trust someone else if we don't trust ourselves first.
right.
We always talk about it has to start within. It always starts with us. If we have low self esteem, we don't trust ourselves, if we don't have that inward connection, then building a meaningful connection outside is going to be very challenging because we're not even connected inside. And so when we talk about making eye contact, one of the first things I did along my journey to returning to self was to actually look at myself in the mirror, eye contact with myself. And of course, you feel like a dork in the beginning. At least I did. And that's all I can say for that. But it was really such a powerful movement forward for me because it isn't like it only works if we're looking at another person. If we make eye contact with ourselves and like actually hold that gaze in the mirror, the same neurons will start to fire in our own brain, allowing us to sync up and have those same realizations of things that we might have been hiding even from ourselves. Feelings, emotions. If we have difficulty getting in touch with our own heart, suddenly that same energetic heart space starts to open up
Mm,
simply by taking the time to get outside of self in a way, like literally getting outside of ourself to go within ourself. It's worth the 5 minutes every morning to just stand there, look at yourself in the eye, and really start to see yourself from a different perspective.
right. Um, Even 10 seconds.
Yeah.
If we're not willing to give ourselves that type of attention, no wonder we're not able to give others. And so, in order to help present that and attract, not that the reason why we're doing this is attract attention, but when people pay attention to you, it's because that's the energy, or your it's an energy that people desire to be around and to connect with and engage with. And so if we're not even willing to do that to ourselves, we can't expect people around us to do that. And so what we're doing is we're fostering that within ourselves, and we become a natural magnet for that. And then we start to connect with like-hearted individuals that are similar. And so it really builds and feeds off of each other, which is why one of the first courses we created with Spivera was our self-love course, and the mirror technique being a massive, actually two parts of it, because there's part one and part two. Two parts of that 8-part series are around the importance of the mirror technique.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's because it's something that you used, it's something that even before you and I met, I would do the mirror technique, not really even knowing, I'd write little note cards on sticky notes and put them around my mirror. And then I would read them off and look at myself in the mirror. I'd read it off, look at myself in the mirror. And because this is what I desire to embody. Not had honestly no idea that like the science behind it, and now getting to know is like, wow, I'm glad. I don't know what even initiated that, but it felt right, and it felt, yeah, I don't know. And so it's just fun to see that's one of those tools that just is evergreen,
Yeah. And so important to continue to revisit.
right?
And even you and I, one of the foundational things that we would do, and we would do with my son Josh when we were building the connection of us coming together, is look each other in the eye during family meetings. Like we would get together, hold family meetings on a regular basis, and then we would look each other in the eye and say things that we felt each other was doing very well
Mhm.
and things that we felt could be improved upon.
Mhm.
And it was a great transaction of energy or transfer of energy, saying, I see you,
Mhm.
I see what you're flourishing in, and I see areas that you can improve, and I'm here to help you.
Right.
That was always the conclusion. And I'm here to help you. Knowing that we had support, that as a family unit, we are here to help you, to support you, to lift you up, or to let you move as you feel you need. And I mean, walking into a pre-built family,
Mhm.
not the easiest thing to do. I know it's not,
Mhm.
but helping that transition along was kind of the key focus for that.
Right. And what I loved about that is, like I was saying earlier, it facilitated a space where when we did provide opportunities for growth, it wasn't a personal attack. It's like, I see you. I see the potential of who you can be. When you're not living up to that, like, hey, one, are you aware of that?
Yeah.
Sometimes we're not. That's okay. That's why we have loved ones, is so that they can kind of kick our ass a little bit and be like, hey, you're not being, the greatest version of yourself. What can you do? And it's like, oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah. Thank
Okay.
you. Thank
Yeah.
you for
Thank you.
that
Thank you. Thank you. I
reminder.
know. I know. I know. I know. Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
So, but it's important. We need to be able to be in a safe space where we feel that it's not a personal attack. It's not to put us down. It's literally to lift us up. And we're going to grow together as a family, because by me flourishing, you're going to flourish, and by your flourishing, I'm going to flourish. And so it's a win-win. And so I feel like that's such a key aspect that many people struggle with in communication, especially in familiar or relationship based communication. It can come off without awareness that it's cutting someone down. And that's an area that I feel connection can not only soften that blow, but actually reframe it to be one where when you tell me something, even if it quote unquote hurts, the reality is that it doesn't. Granted, sometimes I'm allowed to have a moment of like, okay, human ego,
Yeah. Ooh,
okay,
that's
just let
dumb.
that, yeah, and that's an opportunity for me to be able to later be like, well, why did that sting? Why would that come? I know she's doing whatever she said she's doing to pull the best out of me. Why, here's an area where I need to grow in my ego. Why am I letting that overtake me? And so it's a good opportunity for balance. And so that way I'm growing in two areas. And then I get to be in a place of gratitude. And gratitude, as we were talking about, is a doorway to abundance. And so I get to be thankful and grow in abundance with love with the person that I love. Like, what else could I ask for? Come on, you know?
I agree. As we're wrapping up in the area of connection, is there anything else from just kind of the mentor or friend component? We've covered a lot in the relationship segment, but from your experience on that mentor friend side of it, were there things that you feel were highly valuable that kind of played a part in building our connection that you think would be good tools to share?
Yeah, I do. One, I think labels. I think that really fits that mold. Um, I feel like just society in general, we get limited to the label. And so what I saw you do, not only for myself, but those around you, is, when you ripped off that label of mentor or friend or all of that, you weren't just one thing to one person. You, as unconditional love, allowed yourself to be what that person needed without it being at an expense to you and who you are. And I feel like that's really important because sometimes we get so caught up in this box of like, okay, well, I'm a friend. So when I show you love, it needs to be in this specific way. And when I'm a coach or when I'm a mentor, I want to show you, maybe I don't want to show you love because I don't want to give the wrong impression or, and all these, there's like, we create these trap doors for ourselves that are in essence projections. You know, some people are just kind people and they should be allowed to be that way. And in fact, far more people should be kind people too. And that should be okay. Just because someone is kind, that doesn't mean that they're hitting on you. It doesn't mean that they want something from you. It can just be genuine kindness, even though it seems to be a rare thing these days. And that was you when I watched you in our relationship with our like with us, from the mentor to the friendship to the love. I still feel the same amount of love that was gifted at all levels. Now, of course, to a degree, how that's expressed differs. And I'm not going to just put, I'm not going to say like, it's not a free flow thing, let's be, for not to get too crude or anything like that,
Yeah,
right? And so, I'm doing my best to like,
the
navigate this
facets of
well, the
love
facets of love. Yeah,
are
but
really
when,
different.
when you say I love you to, another man or another woman, like I don't have to feel jealous about that. Your
And I
love is not
love you
just,
for that.
yeah, your love is not just for me. Your love is a gift that everyone should be able to experience. So I would just be dimming your light by saying that. And I will never do that. Never. And so, yeah, when it comes to building a partnership, whether it's business or friendship or familial or romantic, when we can do something that doesn't dim the other person's light, give them that space to be who they are, to show love in all aspects of who they are, because again, that is a gift. Lift them up and let them be that incredible light. And then for me, I get to love, like, it's like, wow, like I get to love you. Like, this is a person that gives that much love, and I'm the one, I get to love you, and then you choose me. Like, we wake up with that type of energy every day. No wonder our relationship is amazing.
And I can honestly say that that is 100% truth for you.
Mhm.
I have never felt so loved and so supported for who I am, exactly as I am. You have never attempted to change me, to confine me, to tell me that I shouldn't be kind to this person or love this person or hug this person, or you actually do the exact opposite as you described. And I feel the same for you. When I met you, you were just so full of light and love and care and compassion. And it had been hurt, but it was there. And the more you took off the shoulds and the ought tos
Yes.
and allowed yourself to know that it's okay to just be kind, because no one can take from you what you give freely, which is love. That love is free flowing through all things, and it is not dependent on whether or not you get it back.
Yeah.
You feel love by flowing love through you. It is like this amazing wealth that just flows out. And then by coming together the way that we have, we just flow it out through both of us. And then it's amplified by being together.
Right.
And so, yes, we receive it from one another, but it's not a dependent. Like, I don't love myself through you.
Mm-mm.
You don't love yourself through me. We love through ourselves and then amplify by being together.
Right. We're two independent wholes who come together to create a greater whole.
Yes. Which it makes like a supernova of love,
Yeah.
which is to me the most beautiful thing I've ever experienced. So I'm grateful for you.
I'm grateful for you and feel the same. And feel like we both are feeling what we're saying. We're like, yeah,
Yeah.
ditto,
And
which is awesome.
honestly, we just desire everyone to experience it,
Yeah.
because we know that it's possible.
Right. Yeah. We've just been taught differently. I mean, what I was taught about love is so different than the actuality of love, the reality of love, the consciousness of love that is within all things, ever abundant, always there, that all we have to do is tap into and see within ourselves to unlock the exponential beauty that it is. And it's a lifetime and more to explore. And I'm just grateful I get to be on this journey with you to explore it further.
Me too. And we're grateful we get to be on the journey with you, the amazing Suivera community, and all of the heart leaders who are out in it. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Heart Leader Podcast, where we are talking about connection. Our tool this month is available out in the Heart Leader Toolbox. It is the Building Meaningful Connections Toolkit. And it has a lot of amazing, amazing tools contained within it. So take just a few moments and click below. You can get the tool absolutely free. And when you join the toolbox, there are so many other amazing free resources in it. So just take a moment, click, and join. And if you know wonderful heart leaders in your community who you feel would make great guests on the podcast, also just jump on over to our website at suivera.org and submit them to be a guest. We have a few remaining spots open for the rest of this year, and we would love to talk to your amazing heart leader. Until next time, we look forward to seeing you in the Suivera community.